What's up, guys? Storm Shadow here, bringing you Batman Animated Series, Episode 14, Heart of Ice. And this is a very cool episode. And it's the episode that actually introduced my favorite Batman villain, Victor Freeze, otherwise known as Mr. Freeze. And I was not introduced to Mr. Freeze via Batman Animated Series or the Arkham games or any other Batman media that you would think of. Actually, my introduction to Mr. Freeze as well as Batman was Batman and Robin. Yeah, I'll let you decide how depressing that is. Now, say what you want about Joe Schumacher and his movies, but come on. But come on. The guy didn't always make bad movies. After all, he directed Lost Boys, which is a pretty cool vampire movie. And let's be honest, when he bombed like no other. Like when he did Fantasy Opera. But to be fair, Fantasy Opera was meant to be a play, not a movie. So that was doomed from the start. Anyway, I should give a quick thought on Batman and Robin because guilty pleasure. I don't care. It was doomed from the start. If you look at Batman for forever, of course Batman and Robin was gonna suck. And say what you want about Honest Mr. Freeze, but he's freaking hilarious. And honestly, I think Arnold could do a series Mr. Freeze. But anyway, on to this episode. It begins with Louis with some Gleason, not minor character, reporting some strange going on in Gotham. Even strange for Gotham itself. It appears that some robberies have been taking place, and it's been snowing in the middle of the summer. And it's obviously not climate change. So Batman goes to investigate and finds Mr. Freeze, a pretty cool, no pun intended, looking villain. I mean, I love this guy. A big robotic blue suit, the helmet, the red eyes. It's such an iconic design, and I'm not sure it's a suit or if it's vocal cords that makes him sound kind of like a robot. But and 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 anyway, big spoilers if you haven't seen the episode, but if you're watching this video, you know that there's gonna be some spoilers. So basically, before Mr. Freeze was what appeared in this episode, he was just some lame guy with a gun that frees people. But this show actually recreated him and gave him an actual backstory. He was known as Victor Freeze. Yeah, big shock there. Mr. Freeze, Victor Freeze. Where you hide your identity there, dude? Dude was actually a doctor who was working on an illness to save his wife. So he cryogenically froze her. I'm not sure if he did it against her will or not. It's quite vague. Vague. But his boss, Francis Boyle, which with a name like that, you were born to be a corrupt asshole. So it has to shut down the project when he goes over budget. A little understandable, but seriously, dude. But of course, for instance, chemicals that do whatever chemicals does in comic books. In this case, making it impossible to live outside of sub-zero temperatures. And as you can imagine, Nora is dead, Nora being his wife, and Victor wants revenge. Yeah, on paper, this would sound like a very weak plot. But actually, this is what the execution does. The writing and the voice acting is great. I swear, it feels like it's something like out of great tragedy. Some of these lines are like out of great tragedy that William Shakespeare would write. It would move me to tears if I still had tears left to shed. To never again walk with a summer beach with a sun hot face in your hot wind in your face and warm hair to hold. Oh yes, I kill for that. And yeah, Victor himself is actually my favorite Batman villain. Yeah, I mean, you're probably expecting maybe Riddler and Joker, and don't get me wrong, I love the Riddler, I love Joker, but they're just not as interesting or as compelling as Victor Freeze is. He's more of an anti-hero than an actual full-on villain. When and of course he has no room, and of course of course he has no room for ignorance. Like when his henchmen get legitimately frozen, he decides to leave them behind. Because to him there's only to him in his life there are only two important things that matter to him: revenge and his wife Nora. And it's and it and it's put and I don't know how they react in the comics. Batman Victor. In fact, the only time I've ever seen him react is in this series, which then they don't do too many times, and in the Arkham games. Which is good, but we wish I could use a little more of. So yeah, this episode is considered one of the best episodes of Batman animated series, and if you watch the episode, you can clearly see why. And the backstory of Miss Freeze is so great that everyone uses it. The comics, the video games, that awesome show Gotham, even Schumacher, to his credit, did do the Mr. Freeze stuff with Nora actually pretty okay. It doesn't save the movie, but the Emperor's still there. And I suppose you probably want to talk about Francis Boyle since he's the cause of all this. Yeah, there's nothing much to say about Boyle, although this probably taught Gotham a pretty good lesson. It's less about billionaires. If there's two sides of them, the part they want to see and the evil part of them, because well, the part that everyone saw Francis as a good person. He was even gonna win the Good Humanitarian Award, which I'm not even sure if that's a real award. Is that a real award? Let me know in the comments if that's a real award or not. But he's just a corrupt. But he's just a corrupt. Another corrupt Gotham soul who's basically there to basically wants to make weapons and want to use Victor for all kinds of stuff and blah 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 blah. You know. Oh, and also there's a common misconception when Bruce gets a code because, of course, when Alfred said chicken soups are the only thing to fight a common code. Which, in actuality, that does nothing to fight a common code. But heck, I'm sure Bruce appreciates it. Me myself, I prefer tomato soup because I hate soup except for tomato soup. What did I talk about Victor Freeze? Man, I get sidetracked. Anyway, anyway, the episode is pretty much bittersweet. I mean, we all know Batman puts Mr. Freeze in Arkham Asylum. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, one, Arkham's what part of the supervillains are, and two, Victor is clearly more crazy. Than he is a criminal, and three, well, let's face it, Arkham Asylum is more secure than Blackgate. That won't stop inmates from constantly breaking out, but consider that Victor can't break out without being inside the temperature, and that he wouldn't want to break out because the only reason for him to live is, well, dead. Or so he thinks. Well, remember, this is comic movies. People die and come back to life all the time. I mean, you really can't feel sorry for the poor guy. Anyway, this is one of my favorite Batman animated. This is one of my favorite episodes of Batman series. It's not my absolute favorite. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Stay cool.